Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that one of our admin received and helped us with that translation. So the translation reads like this. Hello, how are you? Can you please post my own story as anonymous? I have my own story that I wish to share with you. My story, it goes on like this. So at that time, I had just gotten a job and I regret a lot. I do not want to lie to you because with the belief that I was going to become a ritualist, that made me to stop going to work after I had gotten my little bonus. It was mid-year bonus. So I was working at this other pharmacy, not wanting to mention that pharmacy by name. When I got my money, and all along this guy that was from Zim then had promised me that if I would go with him to his country, this meant that I was going to be able to make a lot of money. All that I needed to do was to sleep. Can you even imagine? I was supposed to sleep inside a coffin, and when the morning would come, this was going to mean that I would be able to make a lot of money upon my arrival back home in my country here in South Africa. But I was just a fool. Maybe this is a way of God showing me that it is far much better that I do stick to Christianity, because at that time, even though on Sundays I would go to church, but I was like a heavy drinker. I used to like drink a lot during those days. But after that was when I decided that it is far much better for me to return back to Christ. So this is how I met this guy. You know, this guy, when he came into our community, when I started hearing these stories from Zim of Juju, people using Muti, I thought that this is it. I am going to be very rich. So I grew up in Alexandra. At that time, I was just staying with this other auntie of mine just outside of Pretoria. So my father, as for my father, he was someone who really did not like me. I really do not know why. And I just look like my dad. We look like twins, but at the same time, he hates me with all of his heart. So it used to confuse me a lot. This guy then came and he was into music as well as I was into music. There was this other guy of mine. He had a recording studio. So we would be pushing our music, saying that this is what is going to be able to take us out of the hood. As for my mom, she used to work for this other white man as a domestic worker, barely making enough to feed us. I hated the way that my mom, I would see her suffering when I was growing up. Even when I started working, all that I cared about was to make sure that my mom was forever happy. I tried by all means to make sure that my mom, I would renovate her home as much as I could, even though I could not afford a car and I was just having a normal life. At least I had a job. That is all that mattered. And I used to hear stories about people talking about Ugala, this and that guy. This is the man that did these rituals and he went to this very powerful Sangoma, maybe there in Limpopo, and this is what they did. So I was really interested, but it is just that I never had like that opportunity to be able to have someone who can direct me straight to those people that were doing this ritual. So it was like a temptation when this guy came and then he started talking about these Ugala rituals, and I was really interested in the process because I just wanted to know if it was for real or people were just lying. But I had seen people that used to be poor, all of a sudden they became friends with all my Nigerian guys, and then they'll start to drive these expensive cars, start running businesses that you would not even understand. Like there was a guy from our community who was selling archer, like archer, serious, how can you become a millionaire? That's selling archer by the taxi rank. Like seriously, this guy, he was now driving a sports car. During the day, he will be there with his trolley full of small archer buckets, and then later on you will see him driving in the car, maybe with a girl there, and you will be seeing that this man, he has a lot of money. So when this guy from Zim, who was sort of like a regular at that recording studio, he was recording his songs and I was recording my music. So sometimes we would sleep there at the studio all night long, and then there will be time when we will just be chilling, listening to music, talking about his culture from his country. He will be telling me all about these rituals that they do, until he told me that he had this other relative of his, and this man, he was a very powerful. We went to this area, I won't forget it. It's called Nyanga Mountain. That place, it is evergreen. Like, you just think that maybe you are in Cape Town somewhere in Wireland there, because of the way that it is green everywhere. Very beautiful, big mountains everywhere. That is where we went, because after we had spoken, then I got my money. 3 days later, me and this guy, we found ourselves on the bus. I was even scared. I was saying, yo, I'm going to be jumping the border. And he was like, no, man, don't even worry about anything. Besides, you're a South African. When we return, no one is going to stress you at all. So we went to his country. We finally arrived at this village, and then we rested, and then we got onto the bus, went to the capital city. Too much commotion that I had never seen in my life. One could never understand what people were saying and people were doing. We were then forced onto another bus that took us to that village where his uncle was staying. We stayed there for a very long time until I started complaining. I said, hey man, I really want to return back home. I am tired of being in this land. Please, can we just go back? That was when he went and he spoke with his uncle. The uncle then said, okay, I can see that his spirit is now weak. Let me assist him. So that was the reason as to why he was dragging this ritual. He said that my ancestors were too strong, so they were going to fight, and then they were not going to agree with me doing these Ugala rituals, because our bloodline is not supposed to do such a thing. We are naturally blessed by God. So I was then told that the money that I had, some of it I was supposed to give it to that Sangoma, and I said, but I've already paid for the consultation, and the rest, it said that I should pay when I started making my money. He said that a carpenter was going to be hired that was going to make a coffin, and I was supposed to sleep inside that coffin throughout the night. And then when I would have slept inside that coffin, then at least I can start making money. You must die before you are reborn. That is the translation that I got from him. He was saying that this was what his uncle was saying, because this uncle could not communicate with me in English at all. So they led me into this other dark room, a thatched hut, and when I was in there, I saw the coffin that had been made. I was told to remove my clothes, to lie in a wooden coffin. My body was trembling, but I obeyed. The Sangoma and his assistants, they started singing and they were dancing, and then that was when they poured this liquid all over my body. I felt like my head was spinning round and round and round. They closed the coffin, then darkness. I tried to scream, but my voice would not come out. I banged and I banged, but what surprised me is that when I was banging on the coffin, my arms, they felt paralyzed. That was when I started to breathe heavily. I was losing myself. I was dying. And I don't know how long I was out, but when I woke up, the lid was open. I was surrounded by people, those same people that were assisting me to do these rituals. They said that you have been reborn. The Sangoma said I was too weak. I was feeling faintish. The spirit had accepted me. I belong now to the shrine. So he said I was not the same person. We returned back. I was given a red cloth that I was told to hang in my room, which I did to this very day, but the money never came. I'm still waiting for that money, but it never came. And what I hate the most is that this healer, he said, do not go back to work, because you will be able to pay even your own boss at work. So I retired from work and I said that, no, I don't want to work anymore. But now I am unemployed because of this fake traditional healer. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our admin who helped us with this translation. What if you had died inside that coffin? I'm sure that they were just going to bury you in some cave and no one was ever going to know that you perished in Zim. Do you have a relative that once went out of the country to perform a ritual and you never heard from that person ever again? You can come to my inbox and share with me your own story.